Introduction. Friends, if you're someone who loves high-energy action, unforgettable characters, and edge-of-your-seat sports drama, then you absolutely need to check out the super hit movie Rocky III in English. And if you're visiting our channel for the very first time, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss our latest updates, movie breakdowns, and fun behind-the-scenes details. In today's video, we're going to talk about one of the most legendary boxing films ever made, Rocky III. This movie isn't just another sequel, it's a cultural milestone that gave us iconic moments, unforgettable quotes, and one of the most intense rivalries in sports cinema. We'll be covering everything: what this movie is about, where you can currently watch it, and what makes it such a timeless classic. I'll also take you through all the key details: the OTT platforms or satellite TV channels where Rocky III is available, how the film was made, the music, the technical aspects, the filming process, pre-production notes, and the overall vibe of the movie during post-production. And of course, we'll break down the budget, the box office collection, and how this film added another powerful chapter to the Rocky legacy. But that's not all. We'll also dive into the actual story of the film, what happens in the movie, what kind of challenges our beloved boxer Rocky Balboa faces this time, and how he evolves as a character. I'll give you a short review that captures the spirit of the film without giving away all the surprises. We'll also shine a light on the main cast, which actor played which role, and how their performances added depth, grit, and emotion to the story. And yes, we're going to talk about Clubber Lang, the fierce, no-nonsense challenger played by none other than Mr. T, and how his presence takes this film to the next level. On top of that, I'll share some fascinating facts and trivia that many people don't know about Rocky III. From changes in tone compared to the earlier films, to the introduction of the iconic theme song Eye of the Tiger, there's a lot of cool stuff to unpack. We'll discuss how Sylvester Stallone not only starred in but also directed this movie, shaping it into the fast-paced, emotionally charged masterpiece that fans still talk about today. So my friends, whether you're a longtime fan of the Rocky series or someone new to the franchise, this video is packed with everything you need to know about Rocky III. Make sure you watch till the end because we're not just talking about a movie, we're reliving a cinematic experience that defined a generation. Let's begin the video and step into the ring with the champ himself, Rocky Balboa. Rocky III hits the ground running, literally, with a fast-paced montage that shows Rocky Balboa riding high on a wave of fame, wealth, and victory. The Italian stallion has become a household name. He's doing commercials, magazine covers, fan appearances, and best of all, defending his world heavyweight title with apparent ease. It looks like life couldn't be better for our favorite underdog. But here's where the story starts tightening its gloves, because lurking in the shadows is a new contender, Clubber Lang, a ferocious, loud-mouthed powerhouse who is hungry, angry, and absolutely done with watching Rocky bask in the spotlight. Right from the start, the narrative throws you into the theme of comfort versus hunger, and Rocky's greatest battle is no longer just physical, it's about losing his edge. The story sticks to a classic three-act structure, but it does it with such energy and emotional layering that it never feels routine. The first act sets up Rocky's luxurious lifestyle and builds tension with Clubber's relentless rise. The big turning point comes with a challenge Clubber throws publicly. He not only insults Rocky but goes after his pride and his legacy. Rocky agrees to fight him, but there's a twist. Rocky's longtime trainer and father figure Mickey tries to stop him. He knows Rocky isn't ready for a real brawl anymore. He's been protected by easy fights. This emotional rift hits hard, and just when the story seems like it's about to climax, things take a heartbreaking turn. Mickey dies from a heart attack right before the fight, leaving Rocky emotionally shattered and unbalanced in the ring. Clubber Lang demolishes him in front of the world. Now the second act flips the tone entirely. Rocky is broken. He's lost his title, his mentor, and his confidence. This is where the film begins to shift emotionally. Enter Apollo Creed, Rocky's old rival turned friend. He offers to train Rocky for a rematch, not just physically, but mentally and spiritually. They head to Los Angeles, and here the film becomes about transformation. Rocky has to unlearn everything, rediscover his passion, and reconnect with the fire that made him a champion. Through Apollo's tough love, the the intense beach training scenes, and a brutal amount of soul-searching, Rocky begins to rebuild himself, not as a celebrity, but as a fighter. The final act brings us to the long-awaited rematch. By now, the stakes aren't just about revenge. It's about legacy, honor, and reclaiming who you are. The fight is electric, brutal, and packed with strategy. Rocky doesn't just punch harder, he fights smarter, adapting Apollo's speed-focused style. Each round turns into a chess match wrapped in blood and sweat. The pacing of the final fight, with its highs, lows, and sudden reversals, keeps you glued. And when Rocky starts taunting Clubber, drawing him in, turning the tide through sheer psychological brilliance, it's more than just a battle. It's a moment of triumph for the human spirit. Throughout the film, the story plays with contrasts: fame and humility, strength and vulnerability, friendship and rivalry. The emotional core never gets lost in the punches. It's a narrative that moves quickly but lingers where it needs to, especially in those quiet, doubt-filled moments when Rocky questions who he is without a belt or a spotlight. It's not experimental in structure, but the intensity of the arcs and the way each character evolves makes it feel fresh and gripping. From the highs of glory to the lows of defeat, and the burning road to redemption, Rocky III takes you on a knockout ride that's as much about the heart as it is about the fists. In Rocky III, character development doesn't just happen in the ring, it hits on an emotional level that shapes every punch, every word, and every decision. These aren't just boxers trading blows, they're human beings battling pride, fear, grief, and the pressure of expectation. And right at the center of it all is Rocky Balboa, a man who's gone from a scrappy underdog to a world-famous champion. But with fame comes softness, and with comfort comes complacency. Rocky starts the film as someone who's coasting. He's successful, adored, and surrounded by luxury, but that hunger, that raw drive that once defined him, has dulled. He's not just fighting challengers anymore, he's fighting irrelevance. His journey isn't about winning another belt, it's about rediscovering the fighter within. Clubber Lang enters the story like a wrecking ball. He's intense, aggressive, and terrifyingly focused. But what makes him fascinating is that he's not just a villain, he's a reflection of what Rocky used to be. Clubber is raw ambition, no frills, no distractions. He didn't come for autographs or TV interviews. He came to fight. And that makes him dangerous. He doesn't change much throughout the film, but he doesn't need to. His role is to wake Rocky up, to rattle the pedestal and force him back into the trenches. He's the fire that burns away Rocky's ego and peels back the layers of celebrity. In a strange way, Clubber is the catalyst for everyone's growth. Now let's talk about Mickey, Rocky's crusty old trainer, whose death shakes the film to its emotional core. Mickey may be gruff and short-tempered, but underneath that bark is deep, unconditional love. He's been Rocky's anchor from the start, and when he confesses that he's been shielding Rocky from real threats in the ring, it hits hard. It shows that Mickey saw the writing on the wall. Rocky had gotten soft, and he wasn't ready for someone like Clubber. Mickey's loss isn't just sad, it strips Rocky of his safety net and forces him to face his fears without the man who always believed in him. And then there's Apollo Creed. If Rocky is the soul of the movie, Apollo is the heart. Their relationship shifts in the most beautiful and unexpected way, from rivalry to brotherhood. Apollo has evolved since their last fight. He's no longer just the flashy showman, he's wise, reflective, and quietly burning with pride. His decision to train Rocky adds a whole new dimension to his character. He's not just teaching Rocky how to move, he's passing on a legacy. He pushes Rocky harder than anyone else ever has, not out of arrogance, but because he sees in Rocky the same fire he once had. Their bond, especially in the training sequences, becomes one of mutual respect, mentorship, and trust. It's not just about winning, it's about honoring the fight itself. Adrian, often underestimated in the series, also gets her moment to shine. She's no longer the shy, quiet woman from the first film. Here, she's Rocky's emotional rock. When he's spiraling in fear and doubt, she's the one who calls him out and reminds him of who he truly is. That beachside conversation where she forces him to confront his own fear? It's one of the most important turning points in the movie. She grounds him. Her character arc may be quieter, but it's essential. She's the voice that pushes Rocky to stop running and start believing again. Even Paulie, Rocky's grumpy brother-in-law, gets some attention. He starts off resentful and bitter, jealous of Rocky's success. But there's a key moment early on where Rocky calls him out, and Paulie finally admits his envy. That scene does something rare. It gives Paulie depth and vulnerability, showing that under the rough surface is someone struggling with his own sense of worth. Every character in Rocky III plays a part in Rocky's transformation. This isn't just a boxing match, it's a story about growth, about rebuilding identity, and about digging deep to find strength in places you forgot existed. These aren't cardboard characters. They're layered, flawed, emotional, and real. And as the story charges forward, each one helps shape a champion, not just in the ring, but in life. When it comes to performances in Rocky III, every actor steps into the ring with full force, and no one pulls their punches, figuratively or literally. At the heart of it all is Sylvester Stallone, who doesn't just play Rocky Balboa, he is Rocky Balboa. By the time this third installment rolls around, Stallone has sharpened his portrayal into something deeper, more emotionally layered, and honestly, more human. Rocky isn't just the brawler from Philadelphia anymore. He's now a world champion dealing with fame, doubt, grief, and the fear of failure. Stallone nails every beat, from the confident swagger of a champion to the haunted look in his eyes after Mickey's death, to the fiery determination in his voice when he finally regains his fighting spirit. He balances strength and vulnerability so effortlessly that you forget you're watching a performance. It just feels like Rocky's living through it all in front of you. Then there's Mr. T as Clubber Lang, a performance that explodes off the screen. He doesn't need much dialogue to make an impact. From the moment he appears, there's an energy, raw, unpredictable, and intimidating. He's more than just a physical presence. There's a wild intensity in his eyes, a seething anger in his delivery, and a complete commitment to being the most feared opponent Rocky's ever faced. Mr. T doesn't try to make Clubber Lang likable. He makes him unforgettable. Every time he opens his mouth, it's like a bomb waiting to go off. He dominates the screen not just with his muscles, but with his attitude. He brings a dangerous edge to the movie, and that tension drives much of the drama. Carl Weathers returns as Apollo Creed, and this time he brings an entirely new flavor to the character. Once the flashy, arrogant showman, Apollo now steps into the role of mentor, and Weathers plays it with grace, charisma, and just the right amount of ego. You feel the pride in every instruction he gives Rocky, the history behind every look. His transformation from rival to coach is so smooth and believable because Weathers never lets go of Apollo's core confidence. He knows exactly who Apollo is, but he also shows growth and maturity. The chemistry between Stallone and Weathers is electric, especially in the training montages. When Apollo's barking orders or pushing Rocky past his limits, you believe every word because Weathers brings the weight of experience and passion to the role. Burgess Meredith as Mickey delivers one of his most powerful performances in the franchise, despite his shorter screen time. Mickey is a tough old-school trainer who doesn't have time for nonsense, but beneath that growl is a deep well of affection and fear for Rocky's future. When he reveals he's been protecting Rocky from real threats, it's not just a twist, it's a gut punch, and Meredith delivers it with the weary conviction of someone who's seen too much. His final scenes, especially in the locker room, are heartbreaking. You see a man who knows he's near the end, trying to give his last ounce of guidance to the only person he truly cares about. It's raw, it's emotional, and it lingers long after the scene ends. Talia Shire as Adrian continues to be the emotional compass of the film. She doesn't need big speeches to make a big impact. Her strength is in her quiet intensity, and when she does step forward, especially in that pivotal beach scene, it shakes Rocky to the core. Shire has a way of grounding the film with just a look or a few words. Her delivery is honest, vulnerable, and full of love. She gives Adrian a stronger voice in this movie, and it's clear she's no longer just the shy support system. She's the one who sees the man beneath the gloves and reminds him of who he is. Even Burt Young as Paulie gets his moments. He brings a slouched, bitter energy to the role, but it's never cartoonish. There's pain under the sarcasm, And when he finally opens up about his jealousy and guilt, you actually feel for him. It adds depth to a character who could have just remained comic relief. Every performance in Rocky III serves the story. It's not just about who can yell the loudest or punch the hardest. It's about portraying pain, pride, transformation, and resilience. The cast doesn't just support the story, they elevate it. They make it believable, they make it emotional, and most importantly, they make it unforgettable. When it comes to direction in Rocky III, Sylvester Stallone doesn't just step into the ring as the lead actor, he's also calling the shots behind the camera. And what he does as director is nothing short of transformational. The tone of the film shifts drastically from the gritty underdog story of the first two films to something flashier, faster, and more emotionally charged. Stallone directs Rocky III like he's staging a battle between two eras, old-school heart versus modern aggression, and every frame pushes that conflict forward. He doesn't just want you to see the difference in Rocky's world now that he's rich and famous, he wants you to feel it. The bright lights, the glamorous arenas, the stylized montages, it all sets a slicker, more polished mood that mirrors Rocky's success and looming downfall. From the very first frame, Stallone's direction tells you this is a different kind of fight. He opens with a high-octane montage of title defenses and endorsement deals, cut with Clubber Lang's violent rise. It's not just storytelling, it's a collision course set to rhythm. The pacing here is sharp, almost musical, and it keeps the audience on edge. He uses montage as a storytelling weapon, showing Rocky's growing distance from his raw roots while Clubber claws his way up from the streets. The cuts are tight, the energy is high, and every scene feels like it's pushing forward toward the inevitable explosion. Stallone's shot composition also evolves in this film. He loves to play with space, how close or far characters are from each other, and it's used to say things dialogue doesn't. When Rocky and Clubber first meet face to face, they're framed in tight close-ups, sweat glistening, nostrils flaring, eyes locked like predators. It's not just a stare down, it's a storm about to break. During training scenes, Stallone contrasts styles visually. Rocky's earlier gym is full of cameras, fans, and chaos, while Clubber's is stripped down and brutal. Later, when Apollo trains Rocky, the handheld, gritty camera work in the LA gym brings you right into the sweat and struggle. There's nothing glamorous here, it's back to basics, and the directing style reflects that shift with grimmer lighting, raw angles, and less polish. One of Stallone's most powerful directorial choices is the emotional rhythm of the film. He knows when to push the pace and when to let the story breathe. After Mickey's death, the movie slows down. The silence, the stillness, the way the camera lingers on Rocky's face, there's no rush. It forces the audience to sit with the pain. And when Apollo steps in to help, the tone shifts again, hope creeps back in, and the mood lifts. Stallone orchestrates these emotional swings like a symphony. He knows when to shout and when to whisper, when to speed up and when to hold still. Then there's the finale. The rematch between Rocky and Clubber is directed like a war movie. Stallone chops up the fight with quick, hard-hitting cuts that feel more brutal than beautiful. The punches are loud, the sweat flies, and the camera is never static. You feel every hit. Stallone also makes a bold move with how Rocky wins, not through brute force alone, but through strategy, endurance, and psychology. The direction makes it clear that this isn't the same Rocky who fought Apollo out of desperation. This is a smarter, sharper, reborn champion. Stallone also laces the entire film with strong visual symbolism. Rocky sprinting across the beach with Apollo becomes a metaphor for progress and rediscovery. The change in his footwork, the focus in his eyes, it's all captured through movement, framing, and timing. The film becomes less about boxing and more about the art of rebuilding. And that's the real magic of Stallone's direction. He tells a story about fighting without ever letting it be just about the fight. Every choice in Rocky III, from lighting to camera angles, from how long a shot lasts to the way characters are positioned in a frame, is deliberate and meaningful. Stallone doesn't just direct for style. He directs for impact, for heart, for legacy. And that's what gives the film its lasting punch. The cinematography in Rocky III throws jabs, lands uppercuts, and delivers emotional punches just as effectively as the characters do in the ring. This film isn't just about what happens, it's about how it looks when it happens, and that's where James Crabe's cinematography comes in swinging. From the first frame, it's clear that this isn't going to be a dimly lit, gritty street-level story like the original. Rocky III glows with the high-gloss energy of fame, glitz, and pressure. The lighting becomes a character in itself, always reflecting where Rocky is emotionally, bright and polished in his peak, raw and shadowy when he's lost, vibrant and golden when he's reborn. Let's start with the fight scenes. These aren't just brawls, they're full-blown visual showdowns, and the camera moves like it's part of the fight. Tight close-ups put you inches from the action, right where you can feel the sweat hit the lens. The punches aren't just heard, they're seen in excruciating detail, the framing so tight you can see the ripples in the skin with every blow. But Crabe doesn't shoot the fights like chaotic messes, there's a rhythm to it. Each fight has its own visual personality. The first fight against Clubber Lang is almost claustrophobic. The lighting is harsh, the crowd feels distant, and Rocky looks boxed in, physically and mentally. You feel every moment of confusion and panic just by how the camera keeps him caged in the frame. Then there's the second fight, the rematch, and visually, it's a different world. The lighting is sharper, the movements are faster, and the angles are more dynamic. The camera pulls back just enough to show Rocky's footwork, his head movement, his strategic thinking. You're not just watching brute force, you're watching a boxer evolve, and the camera makes sure you see that evolution unfold. Outside the ring, the cinematography works overtime to mirror Rocky's psychological journey. Early in the film, when he's surrounded by luxury and adoration, everything is lit like a commercial. Clean, bright, glossy. It's like Rocky is living in a world built for a superstar, and that illusion is sold visually. But when things fall apart, when Mickey dies and Rocky loses, those polished visuals vanish. We get darker tones, more shadows, slower pans, and shots that linger in silence. The frame isn't crowded anymore. It's empty. Rocky standing alone in the gym. Rocky staring at the ocean. The lighting softens, almost like the film is mourning with him. And then comes the training in LA. This section is where the cinematography transforms into pure motivation. Long shots of Rocky and Apollo sprinting down the beach, silhouettes against sunsets, slow-motion punches hitting heavy bags. It's a visual rebirth. The sunlight isn't just there to look pretty, it represents hope, progress, the fire coming back into Rocky's spirit. Crabe doesn't overcomplicate things here. He knows when to go big and when to pull back. That final beach sprint, when Rocky finally outruns Apollo, is one of the most visually triumphant moments in the entire franchise. The lighting is golden, the framing wide and free, and the camera spins around them like it's celebrating the victory along with us. One of the most powerful uses of framing happens in moments of silence. Take the scene where Rocky visits Mickey's empty gym after the loss. The camera doesn't move much. It just holds on him, letting the emptiness of the space speak volumes. There are no crowds, no bright lights, just Rocky and his grief. It's a bold choice, and it works. That kind of restraint makes the louder, more kinetic scenes hit even harder later. Even the way crowd scenes are filmed is deliberate. In the earlier fights, the crowd is just a blur of faces, cheering, flashing cameras, chaotic energy. But in the final fight, Crabe frames the crowd with more clarity. You see Adrian's expressions, Apollo's silent encouragement, the reactions to every moment. The audience becomes part of the narrative, and the cinematography makes sure you feel like you're right there in the front row, emotionally invested in every round. The visuals in Rocky III don't just capture action, they build atmosphere. They create tension when things are falling apart and radiate beauty when things are coming back together. It's a movie that knows how to throw a punch with the lens just as well as it does with the fists. Every lighting choice, every frame, every camera move adds to the emotion, the power, and the sheer spectacle of watching a champion fall, rise, and fight like hell for everything that matters. The editing and pacing in Rocky III are like a perfectly choreographed fight. Fast when it needs to jab, slow when it needs to breathe, and always locked into the emotional pulse of the story. The film never wastes a beat. From the very first frame, it bursts out of the gate with energy and momentum. There's no long, slow setup. Instead, you get a dynamic montage that recaps Rocky's rise to superstardom while teasing Clubber Lang's brutal climb through the ranks. This is editing with intention. It's flashy, it's fast, and it instantly establishes the contrast between comfort and hunger. That opening sequence sets the rhythm for the whole movie, and from there, the pace only picks up. One of the standout strengths is how editor Mark Goldblatt uses montage not just for efficiency, but as a storytelling engine. Every montage in Rocky III is doing more than showing training or fights. It's revealing character shifts, building anticipation, and emotionally preparing the audience for what's coming. Take the duel montage early on, where Rocky is distracted by fans and cameras while Clubber Lang is in a dingy gym, pounding bags like they owe him money. The editing cuts back and forth, ramping up the contrast with every transition, and you don't even need dialogue to understand what's going wrong. Rocky is drifting, and Clubber is coming in hot. The fight scenes are cut with a rhythm that's visceral and immediate. They don't overstay their welcome, and they're edited to feel raw and chaotic without losing clarity. In the first fight against Clubber, the editing is almost disorienting. Sharp cuts, tight close-ups, quick flashes of crowd reactions. It's fast and brutal, just like the fight itself, and the editing mirrors Rocky's internal collapse. By the time the match ends, you feel exhausted, like you just took a roundhouse to the soul. And that's exactly what it's supposed to feel like. But the film also knows when to slow down and let emotions simmer. After Mickey's death, the pacing shifts dramatically. The transitions linger. The cuts become more deliberate. The beach scene with Adrian isn't rushed. It allows space for silence, for fear, for vulnerability to sit in the air. There's real care taken in how long the camera holds on Rocky's face, how the beats between lines stretch just enough to let the weight of grief and self-doubt land. These slower scenes don't interrupt the flow, they recenter it. The shift in pacing mirrors Rocky's emotional journey. He's no longer in control, and the rhythm of the film reflects that beautifully. Then, as the training with Apollo begins, the film gradually picks up speed again. The editing becomes sharper, cleaner, more energized. Training scenes in LA feel tighter and more focused. The infamous beach sprint is edited like a turning point in a sports epic. The shots are quick, the cuts are timed to every breath and muscle flex, and the pacing builds until Rocky finally outruns Apollo. It's not just a physical triumph, it's an editorial climax, timed down to the last frame to give the audience that surge of adrenaline. By the time the final fight arrives, the rhythm is in perfect sync with Rocky's mindset. He's confident, sharp, and calculated, and the editing reflects that. The cuts are quick but not chaotic. Every round flows with rising intensity. You get the big hits, the clever strategy, the turning points, all without dragging or feeling rushed. The pacing here is like music, beats of silence, surges of action, and a crescendo that ends in triumph. Every moment is tightly managed, giving the audience just enough time to react before throwing them into the next emotional uppercut. There's not much downtime in Rocky III, and that's intentional. The film understands that momentum matters. It never lets the energy go flat, but it also doesn't sprint past important emotional moments. Whether it's the heartbreak of loss, the tension of transformation, or the thrill of redemption, the editing makes sure the audience stays connected at every step. The rhythm is smooth, the transitions are smart, and the film's emotional impact lands harder because of how carefully everything is timed. It's storytelling in motion, and every frame knows exactly when to hit. The soundtrack and score of Rocky III aren't just background noise, they're a full-blown adrenaline rush, an emotional compass, and a fist-pumping battle cry all rolled into one. This film doesn't wait around to hit you with musical energy. It throws you straight into the fire with one of the most iconic songs in cinematic history, Eye of the Tiger by Survivor. From the opening notes, it grabs you by the collar and shouts that this is not just another boxing movie, this is a fight for identity, purpose, and redemption. That guitar riff isn't just catchy, it is the heartbeat of Rocky's comeback, and it perfectly sets the mood for everything that follows. It's the anthem of a warrior waking back up, and the way it's woven into the film's DNA is pure movie magic. But it's not just about that one song, even though Eye of the Tiger could carry a movie on its own. Composer Bill Conti returns with his signature musical flair, bringing depth and emotion in all the right places. His original Rocky themes make subtle returns here, but they're updated, tougher, leaner, just like Rocky himself. Conti understands that music in this franchise isn't meant to be subtle wallpaper, it's meant to move you. When Rocky is training with Apollo on the beach, the music doesn't just accompany the visuals, it elevates them. The rhythms pulse with urgency, and as Rocky gets faster and stronger, the music rises with him, turning each step into a victory. What's brilliant is how the score adapts to Rocky's emotional state. After Mickey's death, the soundtrack pulls back hard. No triumphant brass or soaring strings, just silence and somber tones. Conti knows exactly when to get loud and when to let quiet moments speak for themselves. That restraint makes the grief hit even harder. You're not told how to feel. The absence of music makes you feel it more. Then, as Rocky begins to find his spirit again, the music starts creeping back in, building slowly, hinting that something inside him is reawakening. Recurring motifs throughout the film act like emotional signposts. When you hear those signature piano keys or the rise of the horns, it's not just music, it's memory. It reminds you of everything Rocky has been through and everything he's fighting for. That final training montage doesn't just sound good, it feels like progress. The score builds with every jab, every sprint, every drop of sweat, until it explodes in triumph. It's not just building hype for a fight, it's reinforcing the idea that Rocky is no longer the man who lost. He's the man who found himself again. During the climactic rematch with Clubber Lang, the music is sharp, driven, and relentless. It's not just there for style, it's there for strategy. The score underscores Rocky's new fighting technique, his speed, his intelligence. You can almost track the momentum of the fight through the music alone. When Rocky starts taunting Clubber, taking hits just to wear him down, the music flips from tension to confidence. It's like the score knows before the characters do that the tide has turned. Even the end credits know how to send you out with a bang. The reprise of Eye of the Tiger feels earned, like a musical victory lap. You're not just watching the end of a movie, you're leaving a battle that you've been through alongside the characters, and the music makes sure you walk away energized, inspired, and completely satisfied. In Rocky III, music isn't a supporting element. It's part of the fight. It punches with the gloves, breathes with the characters, and roars with their victories. Whether it's the silence that makes grief hit harder, the thundering drums that power training montages, or that one unforgettable anthem that still echoes through gyms everywhere, the soundtrack and score turn every scene into a moment that sticks. It's emotional. It's electric. And it hits every note exactly where it should. Rocky III might come at you with jabs, hooks, and uppercuts, but underneath all the punching and sweat-drenched montages, it's quietly delivering a heavy dose of deeper themes that land just as hard. At first glance, it looks like a classic underdog sports story flipped on its head. The champ who had it all loses everything and has to claw his way back. But dig a little deeper and you'll see this is a movie about identity, fear, pride, grief, legacy, and the dangerous weight of success. It's about what happens after the dream comes true, and whether you're strong enough to keep fighting once you've already won. The most powerful theme running through Rocky III is the danger of comfort. Rocky starts the film on top of the world. Money, fame, adoring fans, flashy training sessions, and a string of easy victories. But comfort makes you soft. That's not just a plot point, it's the film's emotional engine. Rocky isn't afraid of losing a fight, he's afraid of no longer being the man who can fight. And that's the real struggle. Success isn't the finish line, it's a trap, and the movie shows us how easy it is to get caught in it. Mickey sees it. Clubber exploits it. And Rocky? He has to unlearn everything that fame taught him just to survive. Then there's fear. Not the kind you scream about, but the kind you bury deep and pretend doesn't exist. Fear of losing. fear of being exposed, fear of not being good enough. For a character who once thrived on grit and heart, Rocky becomes paralyzed when he realizes he might have lost his edge. And it's not just about boxing. It's about self-worth. Watching a man who once had nothing now lose himself to fear is one of the most compelling arcs in the series. The beach scene with Adrian is a perfect turning point. When she pushes him to admit he's scared, the film isn't just talking about boxing anymore. It's talking about life, about identity, about confronting the truth when it's most painful. Another huge theme is legacy, and it comes crashing into the story with the death of Mickey. He's not just Rocky's trainer, he's his link to the past, to the version of himself that fought for survival, not for endorsement deals. When Mickey dies, it's symbolic of the old Rocky dying too. But legacy doesn't stop there, because Apollo steps in to continue the cycle. This movie is sneaky about how well it builds mentorship into its message. First Mickey to Rocky, then Apollo to Rocky, and by the end, you get the sense that Rocky is becoming someone who might one day pass it on too. It's a baton being handed off in silence, in sweat, in lessons you can only learn the hard way. There's also the theme of transformation, not just physical, but emotional and mental. Rocky has to rebuild from the inside out. It's not enough to train harder. He has to rediscover his hunger, his humility, his will to fight for something real. That transformation is one of the most satisfying parts of the film. You don't just watch a man get stronger. You watch a man find his purpose again. And let's not forget pride. Clubber Lang might come off as a one-dimensional bulldozer at first, but his role as a thematic foil to Rocky is spot on. He's all ego, all fury, and no humility. He's what Rocky could have become if success had gone unchecked. Clubber is a warning wrapped in muscle and rage. He's what happens when pride goes unchecked, and the film uses him as a mirror to reflect what Rocky is becoming and what he must resist. Even friendship becomes a central message by the time Apollo re-enters the picture. Their unlikely alliance shows that respect can grow from rivalry, and that sometimes the only person who can lift you up is the one who once knocked you down. It's a message about trust, about shared experience, and about how growth often requires leaning on someone else. The beauty of Rocky III is that these themes never feel forced. They're baked right into the blood, sweat, and tears of the story. You don't need a character to spell them out. They're felt in every training scene, every stare down, every moment of doubt and redemption. It's a story that throws punches at your heart and makes you think about who you are when the cheers fade, when the belt is gone, and when there's no one left to prove yourself to but yourself. Rocky III is very much a product of its time, released in 1982, which means visual effects and CGI as we know them today were practically non-existent in this film. Instead, what you get is a masterclass in practical effects, physical performance, and clever filmmaking that makes every punch, every sweat drop, and every knockout feel real and immediate. There's no reliance on flashy digital wizardry because the story doesn't need it. It's grounded in the raw, visceral reality of boxing and human struggle. The visual effects here are all about creating authenticity. When Rocky and Clubber Lang trade blows, there's no CGI slow-mo punches or digital blood sprays. It's all physical stunt work, choreography, and close-up camera work that sells the impact. The way the punches connect, the sweat that flies off faces, the bruises that slowly spread over Rocky's body, these are achieved through makeup, lighting, and some seriously intense acting. The fights feel gritty and tangible, like you're right there in the ring, ducking and weaving with the fighters. The film leans heavily on practical effects like squibs to simulate punches landing, sweat machines to give that constant shine of exertion, and clever editing to mask what can't be done physically. There's a rawness to the effects that makes the action sequences pulse with energy and danger. This isn't about making boxing look pretty, it's about making it feel brutal and exhausting, and the practical effects nail that tone perfectly. Beyond the fights, visual effects play a minimal role in the storytelling, which works in the film's favor. Instead of distracting digital flourishes, the camera focuses on real locations, real crowds, and real physical presence. From the bright lights of the arena to the sun-soaked beaches of Los Angeles, the visuals feel lived in and natural. The use of actual locations and real sets keeps the world grounded and immersive. Of course, watching Rocky III today, it's clear that this is a film made long before CGI could create the kinds of seamless, jaw-dropping effects we're used to now. But that's part of its charm. The lack of digital effects means you get to see real people doing real things. You get to feel the sweat, the fatigue, and the emotion without the buffer of computer-generated polish. In essence, the visual effects in Rocky III blend seamlessly, not because of high-tech wizardry, but because they're honest and physical. They enhance immersion by sticking close to reality and letting the actors' performances and the director's eye do the heavy lifting. When Rocky's gloves connect, you believe it. When Clubber's fury explodes, you feel it. And when the final bell rings, it's not some CGI spectacle, it's pure human drama in motion. The set design and locations in Rocky III do a fantastic job of grounding the story in a world that feels both real and rich with meaning. The film takes you on a journey through contrasting environments that perfectly mirror Rocky's internal journey, from the gritty gyms and tough streets of Philadelphia to the sunny beaches and polished arenas of Los Angeles. Each setting isn't just a backdrop, it's a character in its own right, adding layers of depth and atmosphere that pull you deeper into the story. Starting with Philadelphia, the city feels lived in and authentic. Rocky's old gym is a rugged, no-frills space that smells of sweat and hard work. It's cluttered with punching bags, worn-out equipment, and walls plastered with photos and memorabilia. The set design here reflects the roots of Rocky's character, the place where he fought for survival and earned his respect the hard way. You can almost feel the weight of every jab thrown within those walls. It's raw, honest, and unpretentious, and that gritty realism makes Rocky's eventual departure from this world all the more striking. Then there's the flashy, high-energy world Rocky steps into as a champion. The arenas where he defends his title are huge, bright, and packed with screaming fans, lights, and cameras. These spaces scream celebrity and spectacle, contrasting sharply with the humble gyms Rocky used to train in. The production design nails this transition. Everything feels larger than life, almost overwhelming. The locker rooms, the press conferences, the fancy workout equipment, they all tell a story about how far Rocky has come but also hint at how disconnected he's become from his roots. Los Angeles offers a completely different vibe. The beach training scenes are set against wide-open, sun-drenched landscapes that breathe freedom and possibility. The sand, the surf, the sprawling horizons, they're visually stunning and serve as a perfect metaphor for Rocky's need to rediscover himself. The production design here uses natural beauty to symbolize rebirth and growth. It's the kind of setting that feels like it can reset a man's soul. The simplicity of training on the beach with Apollo contrasts beautifully with the glitz of the arenas and the clutter of Philly gyms. It's minimalistic but emotionally powerful. The props throughout the film also contribute to the storytelling. Rocky's gloves, his worn-out leather jacket, the old photographs on the gym walls, they all carry history and meaning. Mickey's whistle, the punching bags, Apollo's flashy costumes, and even Clubber Lang's bare-knuckle training style, each detail is carefully chosen to reflect the characters and their worlds. These tangible items make the world feel lived in and believable. They remind you that this isn't some fantasy fight club, but a real place with real stakes. Even smaller locations, like Adrian's home, get attention to detail. It's modest, cozy, and full of warmth, a stark contrast to the public spectacle of Rocky's boxing life. This domestic space grounds the character and reminds the audience of what Rocky is really fighting for beyond the ring. Overall, Rocky III uses set design and locations not just as a canvas but as a storytelling tool. Every place Rocky visits tells you something about who he is, where he's been, and where he needs to go. The film balances grit and glamour, chaos and calm, making the world feel alive and layered. It's a visual journey as compelling as the fight scenes themselves, and it adds a rich texture to a story about struggle, transformation, and heart. The dialogue and script in Rocky III pack a punch all their own, delivering lines that are as much a part of the film's identity as the boxing gloves and training montages. The script balances grit and heart with a sharpness that keeps things real and relatable. It never tries too hard to be poetic or profound, but that's where its charm lies. The conversations feel grounded, natural, and full of emotion. Whether it's tough talk in the gym, heartfelt moments between Rocky and Adrian, or fiery exchanges with Clubber Lang, the dialogue hits the mark. One of the things that stands out is how the script captures Rocky's evolving mindset through his words, or sometimes through what he doesn't say. Rocky is a man of few words, and the script respects that. When he speaks, it's usually direct, simple, and loaded with meaning beneath the surface. His exchanges with Mickey, especially during the film's more emotional beats, carry weight without feeling forced. Mickey's blunt, sometimes gruff wisdom shines through, making his advice feel like it comes from decades of hard-earned experience. Lines like, "It ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward," might sound cliché now, but they're delivered with such sincerity that they land hard every time. Then there's Clubber Lang, whose dialogue crackles with raw energy and menace. His trash talk isn't just empty boasting, it's designed to get under Rocky's skin and shake up the whole world Rocky has built around himself. Clubber's lines are short, sharp, and full of bite, reflecting his aggressive, no-nonsense fighting style. When he snarls threats or mocks Rocky's confidence, it's clear the script uses his words as weapons, fueling the tension that drives the story forward. The script also gives a stronger voice to Adrian in this installment. Her dialogue evolves beyond the shy, supportive girlfriend trope. In one of the most memorable scenes, Adrian confronts Rocky about his fear and vulnerability, challenging him to be honest with himself. Her words cut through the macho bravado and get to the heart of the matter, showing emotional courage that helps Rocky face his demons. These moments add depth to her character and give the film some of its most tender and impactful lines. Apollo Creed's dialogue adds a different flavor, a mix of charm, confidence, and mentorship. His banter with Rocky is playful yet meaningful, and the script cleverly uses their verbal sparring to show how their relationship shifts from rivalry to friendship. Apollo's wisecracks and motivational speeches feel authentic, and they add a lightness to the script without undermining the stakes. The script's pacing and dialogue also deserves a shout-out. It knows when to let conversations breathe and when to snap them tight. In training scenes, quick exchanges keep the energy high. In emotional scenes, pauses and silences speak louder than words, giving space for the actors to communicate through expression. This rhythm keeps the audience engaged without overwhelming them with exposition. There are plenty of standout lines that have become part of the Rocky legacy. Beyond the famous Eye of the Tiger spirit, moments like Mickey's tough love or Adrian's heartfelt pleas are etched in memory because they're delivered with honesty and clarity. The script doesn't drown the film in long speeches. Instead, it chooses the right words at the right time, making every line count. In short, Rocky III's dialogue and script are like a well-timed punch, direct, effective, and memorable. They capture the spirit of the characters, fuel the drama, and give the film moments of sharp wit and emotional truth that keep it punching way above its weight. Rocky III steps into the boxing genre ring with one foot firmly planted on tradition, but it also throws a few surprising hooks that shake up the expected playbook. On the surface, it ticks many of the classic boxes: a champion at the top, a fierce new challenger rising from the shadows, a brutal loss that threatens to end the reign, and a grueling comeback fueled by determination and heart. These are the hallmarks of sports dramas, especially boxing films, so it wouldn't be fair to say it abandons genre conventions. In fact, it embraces them, but with style, energy, and a few clever twists that keep the story fresh and engaging. One of the ways Rocky III plays with expectations is in how it handles the underdog narrative. Rocky is no longer the scrappy outsider fighting for a shot, he is the champion. This flips the usual trope on its head, exploring what happens after the glory, rather than before it. That's a fresh take because most sports movies focus on the climb, the struggle to get noticed. Here we see the struggle of staying on top, and that shift in perspective gives the film more emotional complexity. It's not just about physical fights, it's about fighting complacency, ego, and fear. That's a clever expansion of the genre's usual territory. The film also plays with the villain archetype in a fun way. Clubber Lang isn't your typical silent, brooding bad guy. He's loud, brash and unrelenting, a force of nature with a mouth just as powerful as his fists. His over-the-top personality could have felt cliché, but the film leans into it with gusto, turning Clubber into a memorable character who's as much about intimidation and psychological warfare as about physical power. This creates a different kind of suspense, less about mystery or plot twists, more about whether Rocky can rise to meet such a fierce opponent both mentally and physically. Humor in Rocky III is subtle but effective, mostly coming from character interactions and witty one-liners rather than slapstick or broad comedy. Apollo Creed's return brings a spark of playful banter that lightens the mood without undercutting the drama. His mentorship role adds a new layer to the story and introduces moments of levity that balance out the intensity. These injections of humor feel organic, grounded in character rather than forced attempts at comic relief. The balance of action and drama is where Rocky III really shines. The fight scenes deliver the adrenaline and excitement expected from the genre, fast, hard-hitting, and emotionally charged. But between the rounds, the film slows down to explore Rocky's emotional struggles, his grief over Mickey's death, and his journey to rediscover his fighting spirit. This balance keeps the audience invested on multiple levels. You're not just watching punches land, you're watching a man wrestle with loss, pride, and identity. It's a formula that many sports films try to achieve but not all succeed at, and Rocky III pulls it off with style. The film also embraces the classic training montage with a fresh twist. The beach training with Apollo is visually stunning and emotionally symbolic, serving as more than just a montage but a rebirth for Rocky. This reinvention of a genre staple helps elevate the film beyond a simple sports story into something more mythic. There are clichés, of course, big fights, villainous challengers, emotional pep talks, but Rocky III wears them proudly, using them like familiar gloves rather than constraints. The film doesn't pretend to reinvent the wheel, it wants you to feel the thrill of the fight and the heart behind the gloves. And in doing so, it balances genre conventions with fresh energy, humor, and emotional weight, making the familiar feel new and exciting. In short, Rocky III doesn't just play the boxing genre, it knows how to dance around it, throw a few surprises, and keep the audience on their toes while delivering all the knockout moments you came to see. Rocky III might seem on the surface like a straightforward sports movie about punches and glory, but peel back the layers and you'll find it subtly weaving in some interesting social and cultural commentary, mostly about fame, masculinity, and the American dream in the early 1980s. It doesn't hit you over the head with political statements or social critiques, but those themes hum beneath the surface, giving the film an unexpected texture and depth. One of the biggest cultural conversations happening in the movie is about the cost of success and celebrity. Rocky starts the film as this blue-collar hero who has clawed his way out of poverty, becoming a champion not just in the ring but in the hearts of everyday people. But once he's wealthy and famous, the film shows how that kind of success can isolate you. Rocky's lifestyle shifts from gritty and authentic to glossy and commercial, full of endorsement deals and flashy gyms. This reflects a broader commentary on the early 80s culture, where materialism and celebrity were becoming dominant forces. The film quietly questions what happens to the everyman when he becomes a superstar and loses touch with his roots. It's a subtle cautionary tale about the allure and dangers of fame, something that still resonates today. Masculinity and identity also come under the spotlight, but in a way that feels organic rather than preachy. Rocky is this tough, quiet man who defines himself by physical strength and resilience, classic 80s macho ideals. But Rocky III complicates that by showing vulnerability as well. When Rocky admits fear, grief, and doubt, it's a break from traditional male stereotypes of the time. The film shows that strength isn't just about throwing punches but about facing your inner struggles. Adrian's role is crucial here. Her voice challenges Rocky to confront his emotions honestly, which was a somewhat progressive take on gender roles and relationships for a sports film in the early 80s. It's a nod to evolving ideas about masculinity, wrapped up in a story about boxing. The film also touches on race and rivalry, mainly through the character of Clubber Lang and Apollo Creed. Clubber Lang, played by Mr. T, embodies a fierce, unapologetic energy that challenges Rocky's status quo. His character can be seen as reflecting racial and social tensions of the time. He's raw, aggressive, and fighting not just for a title but for respect in a world that often sidelines him. Apollo's return as a mentor who crosses lines of race and rivalry to help Rocky also sends a subtle message about unity and respect transcending competition and past conflicts. These dynamics are handled through the story without heavy-handedness, giving the characters room to represent more than just fighters in the ring. The film also captures the shifting American cultural landscape of the 80s, where commercialism, media spectacle, and image start to dominate sports and entertainment. Rocky's move from a humble gym to bright arenas filled with flashing cameras echoes the rise of sports as big business and celebrity culture. The film doesn't overtly criticize this shift, but it shows the personal cost, making it a reflection on how cultural values were evolving. Overall, Rocky III integrates these social and cultural threads naturally, using character and story rather than overt messaging. The commentary feels like part of the world it builds, not an add-on, but woven into the texture of Rocky's journey. It's a film about fighting, sure, but it's also quietly wrestling with what it means to be a champion in a changing world, how fame, identity, race, and vulnerability all play into that fight. And it does all this without losing the heart and excitement that keep audiences coming back for more. Rocky III knows exactly how to hook its audience and keep them invested from start to finish. It's not just a movie you watch, it's a roller coaster you ride, with emotional highs and lows that pull you in, make you cheer, and sometimes even catch you off guard with moments of vulnerability. The film taps into universal feelings, fear, loss, hope, determination, and wraps them up in a package that's as thrilling as it is heartfelt. Right out of the gate, the film sparks excitement. The energy of the opening scenes, the introduction of Clubber Lang as this fierce, unstoppable force, and Rocky's rise to fame all build anticipation. You feel the adrenaline rushing through the film's veins, and that excitement is contagious. When Rocky finally steps into the ring to defend his title, you're not just watching a fight, you're living it. The quick cuts, the roaring crowd, the pounding soundtrack all come together to make you hold your breath, lean forward, and feel every punch as if it's landing on you. But Rocky III isn't all adrenaline. It knows when to slow down and hit you where it hurts. The death of Mickey is a gut punch, a moment that shifts the whole tone of the film and grabs your heart. It's raw and real, a sudden reminder that this story isn't just about glory, it's about loss, grief, and resilience. That scene invites deep reflection. It's the kind of moment that stays with you long after the credits roll, making you think about what it means to lose not just a mentor but a part of yourself. The film also has moments of warmth and humor that balance the intensity. Apollo Creed's return brings a playful energy that invites laughter and lightness, offering relief without breaking the emotional flow. The banter between Apollo and Rocky is charming and memorable, giving the audience a chance to smile amid the tension. These moments create a connection with the characters that feels genuine and human. When it comes to character growth, the film really shines in making you care about Rocky's journey. You see him stumble, fall, and struggle with self-doubt, and that vulnerability makes his eventual comeback all the more satisfying. The training montages, especially the iconic beach scenes, are more than just physical prep, they're emotional milestones. Watching Rocky rediscover his hunger and fight spirit feels inspiring, almost like a call to action for anyone who's faced setbacks. It's hard not to feel motivated watching those sequences, and many viewers find themselves coming back just to relive that rush. The final fight scene is a crescendo of everything Rocky III has built. It's thrilling, intense, and emotionally charged in a way that makes you forget you're watching a movie. The stakes feel real, the characters are fully invested, and the pacing keeps you on edge. That scene alone invites multiple viewings because it combines the spectacle of sport with the emotional payoff of a hero's journey. It's the kind of moment that gets talked about, debated, and shared with friends. Beyond the immediate emotional impact, Rocky III invites conversations about fear, pride, and what it really means to be a champion. It asks questions without spelling out answers, letting audiences bring their own experiences into the mix. That's why it keeps resonating decades later, because it's more than a boxing movie. It's a story about human resilience that sparks reflection and connection. In short, Rocky III grabs you with its heart and keeps you hooked with its energy. It makes you laugh, it makes you cheer, it makes you feel the sting of loss, and it leaves you inspired. It's not just a film you watch once, it's one you return to, time and time again, because it knows how to connect on a level that's both thrilling and deeply human. When you stack Rocky 3 up against other boxing movies, and even within its own franchise, it's like watching a heavyweight bout where the challenger comes in with new moves while still honoring the classic fight style that fans love. The first Rocky film was the ultimate underdog story, the raw, gritty climb from zero to hero, shot with a kind of scrappy realism that made everyone root for the little guy. Rocky 3 steps into the ring not as the humble newcomer but as the reigning champ, and that shift alone makes it stand out within the franchise. Instead of the classic rise-up story, it's about what happens when you're already at the top and suddenly everything is at risk. That's a fresh twist on the formula, giving the series a new emotional layer and a different kind of tension. Compared to other boxing movies of the era and beyond, Rocky 3 blends the sport's brutal intensity with a splash of Hollywood showmanship. Where many boxing films tend to stay grounded in gritty realism or explore dark, sometimes bleak aspects of the sport, Rocky 3 mixes that with bigger-than-life characters and blockbuster energy. Clubber Lang, with his wild persona and fierce presence, feels more like a cinematic villain than a realistic fighter, but that's part of the fun. It amps up the drama and stakes in a way that some more serious boxing movies don't dare to do. This makes the film feel less like a documentary and more like a mythic battle between light and dark, hero and challenger. If you look at the director, Sylvester Stallone, who not only stars but also wrote and directed Rocky 3, you see a clear evolution in style. The original Rocky was gritty and intimate. By the third installment, Stallone is flexing bigger production muscles, bigger arenas, flashier montages, and more polished fight choreography. The pacing speeds up, the music pounds louder, and the characters are given more colorful personalities. It's Stallone stepping into a more commercial, crowd-pleasing mode, but without losing the emotional core that made the original so special. In that sense, Rocky 3 is a turning point in the franchise. It's where the series becomes less indie grit and more blockbuster spectacle, but with heart intact. Within the franchise, Rocky 3 also introduces the dynamic of friendship and mentorship between Rocky and Apollo Creed, which wasn't as prominent before. Apollo was Rocky's rival in the first film, but here their evolving relationship adds new emotional stakes and layers of complexity. This shift sets the stage for future sequels and spin-offs, making Rocky 3 a pivotal moment that broadens the narrative world beyond the ring. That camaraderie adds a refreshing dimension compared to other sports dramas that focus purely on rivalry and competition. When you compare Rocky 3 to other sports movies outside boxing, like The Karate Kid or Raging Bull, it holds its own by balancing raw emotion with accessible storytelling. Unlike Raging Bull, which is darker and more psychological, Rocky 3 keeps the tone optimistic and inspirational, making it a more crowd-pleasing experience. It doesn't shy away from pain and loss but ultimately wants you to feel pumped and hopeful. That mix of toughness and heart is a hallmark that sets it apart and has helped it endure. In essence, Rocky 3 straddles the line between honoring the classic underdog sports tale and evolving it into something bigger and more theatrical. It respects the foundation laid by its predecessor but isn't afraid to add flair, personality, and emotional depth that keep audiences engaged in new ways. It's a sequel that doesn't just repeat the formula, it retools it, delivering fresh excitement while keeping the spirit of the original alive. Rocky 3 is packed with symbolism and metaphors that sneak beneath the surface, giving the film a richer texture that rewards viewers who look a little closer. While on the surface it's a straightforward boxing drama, the movie layers in visual cues and recurring motifs that deepen its themes of struggle, transformation, and identity. One of the most obvious but powerful symbols is the boxing belt itself. More than just a trophy, the championship belt represents Rocky's success, status, and, ultimately, the weight of expectations. Early in the film, Rocky wears the belt like a crown, basking in the glory of his victories. But as the story progresses, the belt becomes a burden, a symbol of complacency and the pressure that comes with being at the top. When Rocky loses the belt to Clubber Lang, it's more than a lost fight. It's the shattering of an identity that was tied to his title and fame. The belt's physical presence throughout the film reminds us that success can be a double-edged sword. The film uses training locations as metaphors for Rocky's internal state. The flashy, modern gym where Rocky trains early on symbolizes the glitzy, superficial life he's fallen into, comfortable but disconnected from his roots. In contrast, the beach where he trains with Apollo is vast, natural, and open, representing a return to basics and a reclaiming of his primal fighting spirit. The endless horizon of the ocean mirrors Rocky's need to break free from the confines of fame and rediscover who he truly is. The sand slipping through his fingers during training can also be seen as a metaphor for time running out or slipping away, adding urgency to his comeback. Mickey's character and his death carry symbolic weight as well. Mickey is not just Rocky's trainer but the embodiment of Rocky's old life, discipline, grit, and raw perseverance. His passing marks a turning point, symbolizing the end of Rocky's innocence and the need to evolve beyond old ways. The empty trainer's stool during the rematch fight visually reinforces this loss and the emotional void Rocky must overcome to succeed. It's a silent but powerful symbol of legacy, mortality, and transformation. The recurring motif of eyes, especially the Eye of the Tiger theme, plays into the film's exploration of focus, hunger, and survival instinct. The song itself is a metaphorical thread that runs through the narrative, urging Rocky to find that fierce, unyielding gaze that fuels champions. Visually, close-ups of Rocky's eyes during critical moments emphasize his shifting mindset, from doubt to determination, making the audience feel his internal battles as much as the external ones. The contrast between light and shadow is also used effectively. Early scenes in the gym are often dimly lit, emphasizing Rocky's grounded, hard-scrabble world. Later, in the arenas and bright locations, the lighting is harsher and more theatrical, underscoring the spectacle of fame but also the isolation it brings. During moments of doubt and reflection, shadows creep in on Rocky's face, symbolizing internal conflict. As he regains his strength and resolve, the lighting brightens, signaling rebirth and clarity. Another subtle metaphor is found in the relationship between Rocky and Apollo. Apollo's flashy, confident style contrasts with Rocky's humble origins, but their eventual partnership symbolizes harmony between past rivalry and future cooperation. Apollo's mentorship acts as a bridge between Rocky's old self and the new, and this transition is a metaphor for growth through connection and respect, rather than solitary struggle. Even the final fight itself can be read as a metaphorical battle not just between two fighters but between old and new, fear and courage, defeat and redemption. Each punch isn't just a physical blow but a step in Rocky reclaiming his identity and spirit. In short, Rocky III packs its storytelling with symbols and metaphors that deepen the emotional resonance and thematic richness. From belts and beaches to eyes and shadows, these elements work quietly in the background, enhancing the journey of a man fighting not just for a title, but for himself. They give the film layers that invite viewers to look beyond the punches and see the heart beneath. Rocky III sits smack dab in the middle of one of cinema's most iconic franchises, and it plays a crucial role in shaping the saga's overall arc. Unlike the first film, which introduced us to the scrappy underdog Rocky Balboa clawing his way up from obscurity, Rocky III thrusts us into a new phase, Rocky as the established champion grappling with the pressures and pitfalls of success. This shift isn't just a sequel ticking boxes. It's a pivotal chapter that transforms the story from a simple underdog tale into a multi-layered exploration of fame, identity, and legacy. Coming off the huge success of the original Rocky and Rocky II, which ended with Rocky winning the championship and defending it, Rocky III picks up the threads of what happens after the glory. This is a clever narrative move because sports movies often stop at the peak of triumph, but here the story digs into what it means to stay on top when the hunger that drove you there starts to fade. The film contributes to the overarching narrative by showing Rocky's evolution, not just as a boxer, but as a person confronting his own vulnerabilities and fears. It's a turning point where the character gains more emotional depth and complexity, setting the stage for the later sequels. One of the franchise's biggest contributions in Rocky III is the introduction of Clubber Lang, a formidable new challenger who shakes up the status quo. This character ups the ante for Rocky, forcing him to re-examine his approach and mindset. Lang's aggression and raw power contrast sharply with Rocky's earlier scrappy style, highlighting the changing landscape of boxing and Rocky's need to adapt. This rivalry becomes the emotional and physical battleground of the film, expanding the franchise's dramatic tension. Another key franchise moment is Apollo Creed's return, not as an opponent, but as a mentor and friend. This twist deepens the series' exploration of rivalry and respect, showing that adversaries can evolve into allies. Apollo's role in training Rocky for his comeback adds a new dynamic that becomes central to the series going forward. It's a narrative pivot that enriches the characters' relationships and provides a foundation for spin-offs like the Creed movies years later. This mentorship theme broadens the franchise's scope from individual struggle to shared growth and legacy. From a historical context within the film industry, Rocky III was released in 1982, right when sports dramas and action films were hitting a sweet spot with audiences. It capitalized on the era's appetite for inspirational stories mixed with blockbuster spectacle. The movie's success helped cement Rocky Balboa as a cultural icon and solidified Sylvester Stallone's status as a star not just in front of the camera but behind it as a writer and director. The film's style, pacing, and music, Hello, Eye of the Tiger, are all very much products of their time, capturing the early 80s zeitgeist with flair. While the film isn't a historical portrayal in the traditional sense, it does immerse viewers in the world of professional boxing during that era. The depiction of gyms, training styles, and fight promotion reflects the sports landscape in the early 80s, albeit through a Hollywood lens that amps up drama and spectacle. The focus isn't on documentary-style accuracy, but on capturing the emotional truth and excitement of the sport. In the broader franchise context, Rocky III acts as the bridge between the gritty origins of Rocky's story and the more expansive, sometimes mythic storytelling of the later films. It introduces themes and relationships that pay off in sequels, while giving audiences a bigger, bolder, and more polished experience. The movie embraces its place in the Rocky timeline by honoring what came before and boldly pushing the story forward, setting Rocky on a path that would carry him through many more battles, both inside and outside the ring. In essence, Rocky III isn't just a sequel. It's the turning point that transforms Rocky's journey from a personal fight for survival into a larger saga about resilience, reinvention, and the cost of glory. It deepens the franchise's narrative, expands its emotional landscape, and ensures that the story of the Italian stallion keeps punching its way into the hearts of audiences for years to come. Rocky III came into the ring with a budget that was quite a step up from its humble beginnings. Unlike the original Rocky, which was famously made on a shoestring budget and had that gritty, almost indie feel, Rocky III had the resources to bring more polish, flash, and scale to the production. With an estimated budget of around $17 million, a significant amount for the early 1980s, the filmmakers were able to amp up everything from set design and fight choreography to casting and soundtrack. This investment is clear on screen. The film looks bigger, shinier, and more energetic, with elaborate training montages, high-energy fight scenes, and slick production values that give it a blockbuster feel without losing the heart of the story. When it hit theaters, Rocky III didn't just meet expectations, it knocked them out of the park. The movie was a major financial success, grossing over $270 million worldwide, which made it one of the top earners of 1982 and a massive hit for United Artists. This box office performance wasn't just luck, it was the result of savvy marketing, timing, and a built-in fanbase hungry for more Rocky action. The film's marketing campaign leaned heavily into the hype around the new challenger Clubber Lang, the return of Apollo Creed, and of course, the iconic soundtrack featuring Eye of the Tiger, which became a cultural phenomenon on its own. These elements helped build anticipation and excitement well before the film even opened. Audience reception played a huge role in driving Rocky III's earnings. Fans loved seeing Rocky in a new phase of his life, already a champion but facing fresh challenges, and the movie struck a chord by blending thrilling sports action with emotional depth. Word of mouth helped keep the momentum going, as viewers came back for repeat viewings and brought friends and family along. The mix of action, drama, and inspirational storytelling had broad appeal, attracting not just boxing fans but anyone who enjoyed a good underdog story with heart. It's also worth noting that the film's budget was wisely allocated. Instead of pouring money into expensive special effects or flashy gimmicks, the production focused on what mattered most: believable fight scenes, strong performances, and immersive settings. This practical approach kept costs manageable while delivering high production quality that felt authentic and engaging. The result is a film that punches above its weight visually and emotionally, making every dollar count. The success of Rocky III at the box office helped solidify the Rocky franchise as a reliable moneymaker, paving the way for multiple sequels and spin-offs. It showed studios that sports dramas could be both critically and commercially viable, especially when paired with charismatic leads and smart storytelling. The film's financial triumph also boosted Sylvester Stallone's career, proving he could command big budgets and deliver hits both in front of and behind the camera. In short, Rocky III took a bigger budget and turned it into a polished, crowd-pleasing spectacle that resonated with audiences worldwide. Its impressive box office haul was fueled by smart marketing, a beloved franchise, and a story that connected emotionally while delivering all the thrills fans expected. It's a classic example of a sequel done right: bigger, bolder, and more successful than ever before. If you're itching to watch Rocky III and experience all the punches, drama, and that unforgettable eye of the tiger vibe, you've got plenty of options to catch this classic film. While it's no longer fresh on theater screens, Rocky III has found a comfortable home across various digital platforms and streaming services, making it accessible to fans old and new alike. Whether you want to dive into the action on your TV, laptop, or even on the go, there's a way to get in the ring with Rocky without leaving your couch. For starters, digital rental and purchase platforms like Amazon Prime Video, iTunes, Google Play Movies, and YouTube Movies typically offer Rocky III in HD and sometimes 4K quality. Renting it is a great way to watch the film for a one-time viewing, and buying it means you can revisit the iconic training montages and final showdown whenever you want. These digital versions often come with crisp picture quality and clear audio that really bring out the punch and emotion of every fight scene, making you feel like you're right there in the gym or ringside with Rocky. When it comes to streaming services, Rocky III tends to rotate in and out of availability on platforms like Peacock, HBO Max, or Netflix depending on licensing deals. It's worth checking these services if you're already subscribed, because streaming the film there means seamless access with no extra cost beyond your subscription. Streaming allows you to binge not just Rocky III but the entire Rocky saga, which is perfect for those who want to watch the evolution of the Italian stallion from underdog to champion to legend. Watching the trilogy back-to-back can be a powerful experience, seeing how Rocky grows and changes through each installment. If you're a fan of physical media, hunting down a DVD or Blu-ray copy of Rocky III is still a solid choice. Special editions often come with bonus features like behind-the-scenes footage, interviews with Sylvester Stallone and the cast, and commentary tracks that add layers of insight and fun. Plus, owning a physical copy means no buffering or unexpected streaming outages, a classic way to enjoy the film with friends or family in a dedicated movie night setting. For the fullest impact, the ideal way to watch Rocky III is on a big screen with quality sound, whether that's a home theater system or a projector setup. The film's dynamic fight scenes, training montages, and iconic soundtrack are designed to hit you with energy and emotion, and experiencing that on a large screen with surround sound can make every jab, hook, and knockout punch feel immersive. The booming music and crowd noises in the ring come alive, making the film not just a story but an experience you can feel in your chest. No matter how you choose to watch, Rocky III remains a timeless knockout that's just as exciting decades after its release. Whether you stream it, rent it digitally, or dig out an old DVD, the film delivers its trademark mix of heart, grit, and pure adrenaline every time. So, find your preferred platform, get comfortable, and get ready to dive back into the world of the Italian stallion, because once the bell rings, you're in for one heck of a ride.